I want to talk about Black women, Black men, and then all of Black, because I feel like you can be Black and not necessarily African American Black, all of Black, you know? That's how I know some people don't look at it that way, but I feel like if you are of Afro descent, you are Black. If you are African American, then you are African American, but Black can be, you know, they're different nations of Black, if that makes sense. So the first question, let's talk about, since the women are here and we'll wait for Marky Mark will be pulling up. Do you think that there's an attack on Black women? If we're gonna do Black men when we get some men.
Absolutely. I think we touched on it last week. Where was it last week, or maybe it was another show? I've been watching a lot of the shows. Everything's getting kind of jumbled. But women are where community is supposed to begin, right? And so if there's an attack on Black women, that immediately has an effect on the Black community. And if you're looking to weaken or destroy the Black community, then why not start with women? The men tend to be a little bit more rooted in the way that they function. And so we tend to become the easier target, so to speak.
Anybody else wanted to jump in on that?
I would say yes, but again, I think kind of speaking to what Inaz was saying, you typically, I think you go for the weakest vessel. So I think there's an attack on Black children first, then women,
How is that?
then men.
Okay, we'll go back to that because I'm going to ask that in a second. But go ahead,
Yeah.
Black children, and then what?
Then women, then men. I think usually when you're trying to impose something that's going to happen generationally, you start with the kids because they're the easier target, and then the women, and then the men. So I think it kind of happens in that order. But I think as a group, I think there's an attack on Black community in general.
AP?
I'm trying to understand the context in which you mean attack. So, who who are we talking about is going after Black women? Are we saying that?
And that was going to be my next question. So I wanted you to answer this, and then we're going to go into that question.
I'd say yes, mainly because I believe that there's an overall attack similar to what Ms. Taken was saying. There's an overall attack on the community at large, and I actually agree with just about everything Ms. Taken said. You do attack the weaker vessel as you actually build your coalition to go up to men. I just think that that's the normal way, the normal basis of any attack. So, yeah, I completely agree with Ms. Taken.
Do you think, so my next question, you kind of asked that question was, well, who do you think that these attacks are coming from when it comes to Black women? And we'll get to Black men, maybe something totally different, but for Black women, and we'll just put Black women / children, and since we brought that up at this point, who do you think that this attack is coming from?
So if you're asking me specifically, I think every outside force does what it can to attack the Black community as a whole. I think the goal, the objective is to keep Black people divided, because we see what happens when Black people unite. We become strong, and we basically become an unmovable force. So I just think that just about any outside force works to keep the community as separate as possible. So that's how I was thinking of the word attack. Um, and when we think of attack, we think of war. And the question is, who is the enemy? Who is attacking the community? Um, and I would say just about any outside force looking to hold and remain in power, because we have the power to basically flip. Let's just say we're talking about government. We have the power to flip any state if we choose it. We have the power to flip any seat. We have the power to flip any institution. And as long as you can keep the community itself divided, you can win that war. Because essentially, when I think of the way the attack looks on black women, I think it's more of a manipulation and a basically like a dupe. We want you on our side. If we can get you on our side, we can give you any message that we want to give you to keep the pressure on the gentlemen of the community. And I think by and large that's where the so-called gender war itself comes from. And that's just kind of my opinion on it.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I agree with AP. I think it is an attack on all fronts. I don't think it's just a government thing, right? When we look at society in general benefits from broken families in the Black community. It benefits economically, it benefits politically, it benefits in terms of social influence. And so when you look at it that way, you see that the attack comes from the economy, comes from the government, it comes from societal expectations. And I think part of it, even though we hate to bring up this point, a lot of the infrastructures in the Western world are rooted in racism. And so in order to uphold the structures as is, it does need to be maintained in a way where Black people don't get to attain power or build or connect, right? So it is coming from every angle, even as simple as just simple beauty standards, right? It seems really superficial, but it can seep in from any direction depending on where a certain sector feels somebody susceptible.
I was pretty much going to say kind of what AP said in regards to the government is one, I think, but the broader perspective, I guess, kind of what Inaz was saying, is society at large. But I think it is the 1%ers of the society at large. When I look at, like Inaz was saying, the economics, things like that, I think that is I would say, the economics as well as education. I think education system reinforces a lot of the stuff that impacts Black communities. So much so to the point that, like what AP was saying in terms of keeping us divided, because even we attack each other. So, yeah, definitely, I would say the influence would be the government, because there's certain things that put in place that helps maintain the what Inaz was saying, maintain some of the racist fabric of Western society. But it's not just in the West, it's just, I guess, the colonizer mindset that is impacting in all areas of, like what you were saying, the Black diaspora.